take just some small balls of clay, and you're going to stick your bowl on. Make sure that you're holding your bowl so that it doesn't move. And make sure that you are not pushing into the wall. You don't want to push in this way because you could crack your bowl. You're pushing down.
So the bowl has to be leather hard, correct?
Yes, the bowl should be leather hard.
And the clay balls should not be.
Exactly. Yep.
Do we have to wedge the clay balls or just?
You do not need to wedge them because you're not going to be building anything with them. Make sure they're not sticking up too high because then they might get in your way as you start shaping the bottom. You're going to start with this big loop tool. And look at hair in my face. You're going to, because a lot of you are going to have this kind of yucky bottom and it's going to be irregular, so you can start by bringing that in a bit. Now you can make some decisions about how you want the shape of the bottom of your bowl to be. So I'm going to kind of go in a little bit more here because I know that there's a lot of extra down there. As far as not depth-wise, but width-wise. I can kind of bring it in. Notice I'm supporting my hand. You should never just be doing something with one hand because the rotation of the wheel is going to pull your arm around. So I'm trying to trim. Notice it's making this little ridge, so I'm going to get rid of that as I go. And I'm going to kind of keep going back and forth. Now, it is possible that you are going to make a mistake when you are trimming, and that's another reason why it's good to have multiple bowls, so that if you do accidentally carve too deep and make a hole in your bowl, it's not the only one you have. So I would suggest starting with your least favorite when you do your trimming. Okay, so if you want to kind of stop and take a look at it, see how this is creating this weird ridge here. If I don't like that, I'll start shaping that a little bit, but I might wait. I am going to carve it in more. Should I close the shades, Tyler?
No.
You're good?
Yeah.
Are you ever scared that you're going to go through the clay?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm scared.
That's why you want to, pay attention to what you've got when you start. Okay, now I'm just going to kind of clean up the bottom. I'm holding this loop tool flat and kind of flattening the bottom a little bit so it doesn't have all those weird ridges from when you cut it off of the wheel. And I'm going to take a look. Now I want to double check before I go any further to make sure it's centered. Now that I have a little bit of shape, it's easier for me to see that. So I'm going to take my loop tool again, and I'm just going to kind of go like this.
Did you say your loop tool?
Yes, I did. I meant to say needle tool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I can look, and it does look like it's pretty much in the middle. If you do this and it's over here, that means you should adjust it so that it looks like that whole, you're just doing a really light, thin line to check to make sure it's centered.
So, say it's not completely centered, that's not going to mess up the whole bowl as a whole, is it? Or is it just going to make it look a little weird?
It will. What will happen is when you do the next step that I'm about to show you, it's gonna look weird. It also might throw off the balance, so you do want to try to make sure it's in the middle. The next step is to take the smaller loop tool, and you're going to create the foot where you carve in the middle. Okay, so I am going to first take a second just to kind of clean up this shape here. So I want it to be a little more rounded. I don't want it to have that sharp, jagged edge. Always supporting your hands with what you're doing. Okay, so now I'm going to decide how thick I want my foot to be, and I'm just going to draw like a little circle. Again, always supporting what you're doing. Okay, so now I have this circle, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to carve out the middle of that. Make sure you don't forget how much space you have.
This is stressful.
Okay?
It looks cool now.
Most of you guys, I think, from what I've seen, have a lot of extra space at the bottom, so it should be okay.
I hope so.
But that's why we have multiple to practice. Okay, so now I'm gonna take and hold, again, the rectangular edge, but I'm gonna hold it at an angle. I'm starting in the center, and I'm spiraling out. Just like when you're pulling the sides of your bowl, you're kind of going slow, slow,
that's cool.
slow.
Doesn't it?
I'll leave it at that.
Now I'm gonna flatten it,
Oh,
and I'm going to take that clay out,
oh.
And then do it again.
and then repeat.
It looks like that thing is uneven.
Yeah, it's a little wonky.
That's on you, Tyler.
She's carving it on her.
How many times do you do that?
Until it's the depth that you want it to be. So I'm not going to go too much deeper because I don't think there was a ton of space there as far as the depth goes. If you want to just stop the wheel to look at it to see how it's coming along, you can do that.
So we can stop the wheel and like activate the bowl and has to constantly move.
You can
throwing?
you can stop it to look at it,
Okay.
but not to do anything to it. It's the same as when you're throwing on the wheel. You don't want to be touching it too much when it's not in motion. Go ahead.
So say you mess up, would you have to put that back in the trash bin
In
thingy?
the recycle bin, yeah.
What?
Yeah, you can't really save it if you make a hole. So I'm just gonna go one more time, kind of trim it. I feel like it's getting a little, I can feel it change a little when it starts to get too thin, so I'm not gonna go any deeper. I'm just trying to get rid of that little swirl. It is okay if you like the swirl, you can leave it, but you need to go deep first. You can't just do the swirl once and then call it a day. You also want to kind of angle the foot like this. And then you're going to take, when you stop and you look at it and you feel like, okay, I think that's a good enough shape, you're going to take your finger and just kind of compress the edges a little. This will help keep it from cracking as easily if you are using it and you put it down. You don't want it to easily chip because it has this sharp edge. I like to kind of compress the bottom a little with my finger. It just kind of smooths out any weird texture.
If this explodes in the mill, will it ruin everybody else's stuff?
Generally, that doesn't
Too hard to
happen.
trim. Should I throw this bowl away?
So like if they do explode, I shouldn't feel like I'm a terrible person.
No.
Alright.
Okay, so at this point, that's my foot. I'm not going to go any deeper because I can feel that it's at that point. You can see it might start to move a little bit. That tells you need to stop. Okay, you can do things like make little throwing lines, or I guess you can make little lines into the bottom while it's moving, if you like. You could also try, are you cool with whatever? You could kind of try going like a wiggly line and see what kind of texture that might make. Don't be afraid to kind of play around with texture with these bowls.
We can put both our initials on.
You can put yours on it. You can also, if you like, this is where if you had any weird things happen from wrapping your bowl or from putting it on the wheel, you can take just a little bit of water and just dip your finger in. And I mean, this one is actually, I can do it without too much water because it's at a good, it's a nice leather hard stage. You could, I finished one yesterday, so you can look at the one that I have that's over there. I added some texture on the outside as well. Don't forget to put your initials and the year in the bottom. When you put it over on the greenware cart, the year. Yeah. Do the
Are we
year.
supposed to be doing that on everyone?
I would.
Oh.
Okay? And then put this over on the greenware cart to dry. Put it upside down. If it's still pretty moist, cover it, because the bottom is going to dry slower. Hey, I'm not done.
Yeah, Taylor.
The bottom is going to take longer than the top rim to dry, so you want to do it this way so that you don't have cracking in the bottom.
Upside down.
Yeah, you're going to put it upside down to dry.